Imagine you're 18 years old. You finish high school, and as you've been brainwashed your whole entire life, you go to university like everybody else. You do your bullshit degree, you finish just to find out that you've been replaced by robots. By 2030, more than 300 million jobs are going to be replaced by AI. That should scare you. And if you work a job in this day and age, like a basic office job, you do some sort of job that you know you're going to get replaced by AI, there's a good chance, you should be scared. And you should want to find some sort of way to escape. It's funny because pretty much every single person I went to school with went to university. And out of pretty much every single person that went to university, well, a large majority of them already dropped out. But the people that went to university and or stayed there studied business. And I just find it funny that people will go and learn business from somebody who's never started a business. Your college professor who has a mortgage and drives a Corolla to work probably doesn't know a lot about business. Why would you learn business from someone who hasn't walked the path that you're trying to walk? You could spend, 3, 5, 10K on a mentorship from an entrepreneur who's actually run a successful business, and they'll teach you 10 times more than any college professor will. It's going to charge you $40, $50, $80, $100,000, getting in all this bullshit student debt that you have to pay, fuck knows how much, interest on. It's ridiculous. And I was talking to someone the other day that studies graphic design, and it's like, bro, you're gonna finish your degree, come out with your graphic design degree, just to find out that you've been replaced by robots, literally. There's people that study website development and things like that. The other day I had to make a website and I have zero experience in that field, and it took me literally 5 hours to make a website completely from scratch with zero experience because I just used AI. Think about how much money you are making and how much you want to make and the kind of future you want to live. Like having a boss, having a job, having to clock in because you chose not to lock in, and you have another man who tells you when you can take your lunch break or use the bathroom. That shit's fucking embarrassing. I remember when I first started to kind of realize that there's something fucked up about the paradigm of the world. When I was 19, I was a sous chef at a pretty established restaurant. I ended up working at this restaurant for about 5 years. And I remember one of the chefs that I worked with, I'm not going to say his name, we'll call him John, right? John was 56 years old and he'd been a chef for 39 years. And at the time I was a teenager, and although I was the sous chef, I was a second-year apprentice. Right? And this guy would ask me when he could use, he would ask me to go use the bathroom or to take his lunch break. And he'd been a chef for 39 years, okay? Imagine being a 56-year-old man that's been working a job for 39 years in that same industry, and he had a daughter and he had an ex-wife, and you're asking a fucking teenager when you can use the bathroom. It's fucking embarrassing. And I even just said to him at one point, I was like, bro, you don't have to ask me to use the bathroom and take your lunch break. And he was like, no, Jez, you're the sous chef. I've got to, pretend like you're my boss or some shit. How can you be such a pussy? How can you have such a minuscule amount of testosterone in your balls? The problem with a lot of you guys is you just don't want it bad enough. I made my situation way more painful than it actually was to escape. When I was 20 years old, working a job, I felt genuinely fucking embarrassed to myself. I felt embarrassed that I was 20 years old and I hadn't quote unquote escaped the matrix and had a job. If anybody from my hometown or people I went to school with or just anyone I knew saw me at work, I felt embarrassed. Even though it's such a normal thing. And by most people's standard, I was doing pretty well. That's why when I quit my job and I went all in entrepreneurship and I developed a successful business and did all these sorts of things, nobody understood it. They're like, you got a good job, you make a good amount of money, you have a very important role, you've come a long way. I became the sous chef of a pretty big restaurant as a second-year apprentice and sort of run this restaurant by myself for 4 years. And nobody understood it. None of my family, none of my quote-unquote friends, nobody from my hometown. And I pretty much just cut off everyone, completely isolated myself and made it fucking work. But that didn't stop me from trying in the first place. When I was 19, I had about $100,000 liquid in my bank account. $100,000 just from working my whole life, hustling, saving all of my money. None of it was inherited or some sort of handout. It was all earned. And less than a year later, at 20, I was in debt and had a maxed out credit card, and had over 5 figures worth of debt. Because I realized that working my job and doing what I was doing was never going to get me to where I wanted to go. And I was never going to make the amount of money I made. And I'll tell you guys a story. I remember one day at work, I very rarely got a break. I was a chef. I used to work 18 plus hours a day, 7 days a week. But this one time I took a short break and I took a walk down the end of this road near where I live. And sorry, not near where I live, near where I work. And I used to work at this pretty rich people yacht club. And I remember I took a walk down the end of this road near where I live. It's called Baronier Bay, and a lot of rich people live there, really nice houses, that kind of stuff. And I remember looking at these like $5, $7, $8, $10 million houses. Some of them had, tennis courts, and they're like 4 stories. And I remember this one house had like a 200-meter long driveway with like a basketball net, tennis court, and he had like a 4-car garage. And then, like, bro, there was literally a koi pond underneath, like the bit where you walk up to the house. It's like, imagine you have like not like a driveway, but sort of like I guess kind of like a driveway that funnels into your front door, and underneath like a bridge, you had a fucking koi pond. Like, it was crazy, right? I remember seeing all these houses and thinking, like, if I saved every single dollar I made for the next 100 years, never got, let's say, didn't have a car, didn't eat food, didn't pay taxes, never got married, never had children, never bought a car, like a nice car, anything like that, never did anything. Even after like 100 years, I still wouldn't be able to buy one of these houses. When I did the maths of how much money I was making, something's not right, it's not adding up. And I remember at the same time seeing all these, 18, 19, 20-year-old Miami entrepreneur, millionaires, whatever, making 6 figures a month, driving supercars. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I don't look at that in a negative light and think about like, oh, these kids are bullshitting, or I'm not buying your course or whatever. Like, I was inspired, and I realized like, oh shit, there's actually a way you can make money online. That's when I obviously started to understand and learn everything about business and value exchanges and building a personal brand, and learning high income and high value skills and monetizing services or products, right? And it was all because I was willing to drop my ego. I had about 100K when I was 19. Less than a year later, I was in debt. Now that's because I invested all of my money into failed side hustles, failed businesses, books, ebooks, programs, courses, like literally just like 6 figures worth of information. It is, what's the date? It's the 31st of January, 11:59 p.m. And last year, so not long ago, a month ago, last year I spent over $250,000. And I only quit my job 3 months ago. So last year working a job where I was making about $50,000 a year after taxes. I think I was making about 80K a year before tax, 50K after taxes, because if you guys live in Australia, you know how shit the tax is. And I spent that 100K I had, I spent the 50K I made from work, and then I made another, I think I made about 100K from match betting, which is something that I teach. And all of that was spent. And I remember getting a credit card and maxing out my credit card and spending all of my money because I was so willing to escape and make this work. And some people, I guess, close to me, like my family and stuff, they knew I had made a lot of money and saved a lot of money. And I had to ditch that, what do you call it? Not an abundance mindset, but the opposite of that. I had a very, what's the word? I had a very scarcity mindset, right? Scarcity mindset. I was like holding on to all the money I had. I wasn't frugal, but I just didn't really spend any money. And I'd never be the guy to invest thousands of dollars into some sort of course or a program or a side hustle, something like that. And I had to drop my ego and, drop all the money that I had to actually learn something. And it was the best decision I've ever made, because now I'm in a position where I know that I'm never going to work a job again at any point ever in my life. And I have the ability to do whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want, and how I want. Now, sure, I choose to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, or, like today I'm going gonna pull an all-nighter because I have a lot of work and I just felt like skipping a nights of sleep because I can. Again, because I'm an entrepreneur, I can do whatever the fuck I want, right? Sure, I choose to wake up at 5 a.m. each today and I choose to train really hard and eat right and not hold any vices and just basically just work and try and move the needle forward. But I get to do it on my own terms. I don't have a boss. I don't have to clock in. I don't have to conform to the societal standards and live life like everybody else. And I know if you're watching this video, especially if you've watched this far, kudos to you, and I truly mean that, because you're on the right path, my friend. But we're on a different path. And I think you realize that, and to some degree you don't align with everybody else. You don't align with the norm. You don't align with the NPCs and the regular, not to be rude, but just like average fucking people that are completely content working jobs, making the bare minimum amount, just barely paying their rent, going out on the Friday and Saturday nights, wasting away their lives. That is not what God put you on this earth to do. And if you're an atheist, well, I hope you find God, but if you are an atheist, you know you're meant for more. You know you're meant for more. And what I believe in, whatever you believe in, you were put on this earth for one reason, to fulfill some sort of purpose. To fulfill your highest purpose in life and be the most competent, capable man you can be. In all areas of life as well. One thing I want to establish as well, like a lot of people, they look at guys like Bill Gates as someone who's successful. Bill Gates is successful, but he's not truly successful. He's not successful in all areas of life. He's very successful financially. That's pretty much it. I mean, yes, he's super rich, and I look up to him like that, and he's inspired a lot of people, and he's a great entrepreneur, but he's a geek. He's a skinny geek that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's divorced, so I guess his relationships aren't that good. I think he's divorced. I don't fucking know. He's a skinny geek, right? He's a fucking nerd. He would probably give you a limp handshake, and he's just a fucking weak cunt, right? It's about, yes, being, like, you don't want to be a guy who's, like, I see all these kids that have, like, made the Wi-Fi money and they're rich, but they're skinny, fat little pussies. You don't want to be the rich kid, the guy who's made money online, but can't hold a conversation, can't articulate their words, and can't, like, give you a firm handshake and have some degree of masculinity, right? But you don't also want to be the broke Jimbo, which is what I was when I was, like, 18, 19, right? I was fucking jacked, but I was broke. You need to be well-rounded in all areas. You need to be jacked. You need to know how to fight. You need to be strong. You need to make a lot of money. You need to be able to articulate your words well and actually be able to speak. You need to make some sort of impact on the world, have good relationships, be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, cognitively competent as a man. And I fucking pray to you, bro. Do not stay in the system. Stay average. Stay a slave to the matrix, as you guys will call it. As I'll call it. Whatever. You're meant for more. We're meant for more. Take the fucking risk, bro. It was tough, man. Like, when I quit my job, I had so many fucking expenses. I was in thousands of dollars worth of debt. And to be completely honest, for a large portion of my life, I really wanted to kill myself. The only thing that stopped me was not being selfish. You know, I couldn't do that to my mother, and I know that God has very big plans for me, so I wasn't going to let that happen, but sacrifice some sleep. Sacrifice the nights out if you partake in that. Sacrifice bullshit relationships. The 5 people you spend the most time with is what you become, right? If you surround yourself around 5 smokers, you become the 6th. If you surround yourself around 5 alcoholics, you become the 6th. If you surround yourself around 5 entrepreneur killers, you'll become the 6th. So put yourself in better surroundings. If you're constantly surrounding yourself around losers, people that are slaves, people that are content working their bullshit job, making the bare minimum amount to get by, you need to have better surroundings. I'll give you a great example. Most people like to go out on the Friday night. If you actually want to fucking win, you will sacrifice that shit. You'll sacrifice spending time with bullshit people. You will sacrifice relationships. Like, I've skipped family events and gatherings and birthdays and stuff like that because I wanted to work on my business. And that hurt a lot of people. And I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of people, but they weren't on the path that I was on and they didn't want to grow with me. I don't believe in, like, a lot of people talk about like cutting off your day ones, right? I believe in you. If you have day ones and you have close friends, you should take them on this path with you. But if they don't want to go, like, you and your friends are here, you want to come up here, you should bring them up. But if they don't want to come up and they're not coming up with you, you have to leave them and go up yourself. Try and bring the people up with you. But if people don't want to change, people don't want to put in the sacrifices, put in the work, put in the grind that you are willing to put in, you have to leave them. And I guess I kind of went on a random rant about this video, but you need to escape. And understand that if you don't want to escape and you want to keep working your job and keep making ends meet and go to university or whatever, you're going to be replaced by robots inevitably. And you can cope and you can talk about, well, my job specifically can't be replaced by AI. Okay, cool. But are you ever actually going to live a life of financial time, location, freedom? Is your job going to acquire you with a very large degree of wealth at a very young age? Probably not. You need to escape, brother. Anyway, boys, thank you for watching the video. If you managed to watch this entire video from start to finish, you're already on the right path. I promise you that. I can promise you that. And no matter how long it takes, 3, 6, 9, 12, 24, 36 months, do not give up and stay on this path. Anyway, I love you, boys. I'll see you guys soon.